Conservatives plan cap on migrant visas. This is the caption of a publication on the BBC, and I felt it's very important I share with you the contents of this paper and I explain to you what is actually happening, because there are different parties making proposals towards cutting down net migration, and I felt it's very important I share the contents of what they intend to do if they win the election. This is their manifesto. This is what they are proposing to the people in the UK that they would do if they won the election. If you're interested in any of these things, please just watch this video to the end. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Cynthia. I share information that will help your transition abroad to be as smooth as possible. I share information that will about settling, working, or studying in the UK. If you're interested in any of these things, please subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so that each time I drop a new video, you know it's time to watch Cynthia Academy. And without wasting time, let's get into this video. Now, like I said, this is the caption of this particular publication by BBC. Conservatives plan cap on migrant visas. Now, they are talking about Rishi Sunak, which is the Prime Minister, said that the number of visas available to migrants will be reduced each year under a new Conservative government. Now, he's proposing that for the first time, MPs would get a vote on annual government proposals aimed at regularly reducing numbers, which would be based on recommendations from the Expert Migration Advisory Committee. So he's proposing that what will happen is the MAC, which is Migration Advisory Committee, would now make a suggestion or a proposal on the number of migrant visas they will issue, and then there will be some voting done by the MP. So this is trying to say that they'll be in control of this migration. Now, although no figures were suggested for a possible cap, Rishi Sunak said his was the only party willing to take bold action to reduce immigration if elected on 4th of July. So this is just what you have to understand, is that many people are making proposals because election is on 4th of July and migration is one particular agenda that is on every party's blueprint. Now, when you watch the political debate that happened between Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the UK, while Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party, you will understand that both of them talked about migration and what they want to do. Rishi Sunak is saying that they intend to reduce it further because it's quite high. Remember that net migration usually falls between 200 to 300,000, which is when you subtract the number of people that leave the UK from the number of people that actually come in to stay in the UK. That is net migration. Now, with this being said, Keir Starmer is saying that, yes, he intends to bring down net migration further. And he also intends to put in some, skill sets, some training, so that the people that are already in the UK will be able to get those training, and they'll qualify to fill in those labor shortages so that they don't need to bring in foreigners into the UK. The announcement came as Nigel Farage announced he was returning to lead the Reform Party. Remember, the Reform Party is one of the political parties in the UK, and with its focus on reducing immigration, which has heaped further pressure on Mr. Sunak. Now, some conservatives have been unhappy at immigration levels, with control over the UK borders and reducing immigration figures seen as a key battleground between the Labour and the Tories in this election. So this is just one aspect that they are really, really interested in, which is net migration. Remember that the Conservative Party has already put in some things in place. Master students are not allowed to bring their dependents into the UK. I'm talking about Master of Sciences. But if you are pursuing a Masters of Research or you're a PhD student, you can bring your dependents into the UK. Now, also just note this, that if you're a Masters of Science student and you are being sponsored by a government, you can bring your dependents into the UK. Even if you're a BSc student and you're sponsored by the government, you can bring your dependents into the UK. But that's agreement that they made, that policy that they implemented alone, cut down net migration in the first quarter by 80%. It cut down the number of students that come into the UK by 80%. That's a lot. And for them, they believe that their plan is working because this is what they want to put in place to cut down net migration. Now, with respect to this proposal that Rishi Sunak said, putting the decision in the hands of MPs would give voters confidence their views would be respected and reflected. So the plan is working, but migration levels are still too high. So we are going further. The cap would apply to worker and family visas and would exempt temporary work routes such as seasonal agricultural workers. I shared with you guys one time about the seasonal worker visa, and I'll put the link here if you're interested in exploring this route to come into the UK. You read about it, you study it very well, and if it's something you're interested in, you can explore that option. Remember that the reason why they issue these work visas is because of shortages in labor in some particular sectors. So that is one reason why they have these visas, and they're willing to allow foreigners to come into the UK to work. On the other hand, this proposal by Rishi Sunak has been attacked by the Labour Party. They feel that this is just a last attempt, just because an election is coming up. That's why they're bringing out this thing. Ms. Cooper said, this is a meaningless announcement from a Tory party which has trebled net migration since the last election, despite promising to bring it down. Labour's plan to bring net migration down would link the migration system with new mandatory training and workforce plans for British workers and stop rogue employers hiring from abroad. So this is their plan. There is going to be a mandatory training and workforce plan for British workers, and then they want to stop rogue employers from hiring from abroad. I felt it's very important that I share this with you because they also talk about the Reform Party. The Reform Party, which is led by Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is saying that he wants to make sure there is net zero migration into the UK. No, net zero migration means that the number of people coming into the UK is equal to the number of people leaving the UK. That's net migration. So he's saying that there is no need for all these workers that we already have now, that the population is quite high. It's not necessary, that we have enough laborers to take care of things. Mr. Farage said that the UK would admit far fewer unskilled immigrants, saying we don't need any. We literally don't need any. This would create job shortages, Mr. Farage said, which would mean that wages will go up and we would start to encourage people to learn skills rather than heading off to university. So these are some of the things they have proposed of late. You can go online and try and assess the blueprints that they have proposed for each party and read what they have to say about immigration. It affects every single person, especially if you don't have your ILR yet. It's something you should be concerned about and plan accordingly, because once they propose this and is implemented, and 4th of July is around the corner, if it comes into play, what would happen is that they would just put a limit of the number of visas they will issue every month. I feel that is the likely pathway that they would want to do if they want to implement this proposal. Now, when they vote the number of visas that they would want to issue for that year, usually if you apply for a visa and you have all the requirements, you meet the 70 points for skilled worker visa, naturally you will get that visa. There is no, maybe they will not give it to you like America or in Canada, but you surely get it. But with this proposal they are making right now, when they are putting a cap on migrant visa and they are specifically targeting work visas and family visas, it means they're going to put a cap. You can submit an application, and if they have met or exceeded what the number of visas they will need for that particular month, then they might not start rejecting or refusing visa. That's what it makes. That's the sense it makes by what they have just said. And it's going to be really, really tough. So I'm not saying you should panic. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm just telling you that there's a new proposal right now. And if you know you want to submit an application for a skilled worker visa, plan yourself accordingly. See, when it comes to laws in the UK, it doesn't suddenly change. They don't change laws automatically. It doesn't happen overnight. There are proposals that come in, then people react to it, and then they see whether they can, where they weigh option of how it will affect the economy, how it will affect other things, and they feel it's safe, they go ahead and implement it. So this is what the Tories, which is the Conservatives, are planning after 4th of July. And I feel everybody should be aware and prepare accordingly. No need to panic. I hope you've benefited from this news. I'll put the link in the description box for you to go and watch and educate yourself and prepare yourself. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.